Good day, children. How are you all? I hope everything is fine with you all and with your family. As COVID cases are increasing rapidly, try to be more cautious, children. Try to follow the safety measures given by the government wisely. Good day, children. How are you all? I hope everything is fine with you and your family. As COVID cases are increasing rapidly, try to be more cautious, children. Today, let's discuss few scientific health facts about water. We all know water is very essential for all living organisms as it regulates body temperature, protects organs and tissues, it keeps moisture in your tissues like mouth, eyes and nose, your joints. If you want to bend your knees and fingers properly, it should be your joint should be lubricated. For that also water is responsible for that. It prevents from constipation, that it helps in digestion, and it prevents and dissolve in minerals and other nutrients to make them accessible to the body, and it is the one which carries nutrients and oxygen to cells, and it also lessens the burden of the kidney and liver by flushing the waste product. So water is very essential for us. So early morning after a bed, if you drink a cup of water, the glass of water, it actually purifies your blood. Okay, so at least 3 liters of water should be taken to keep your body healthy. So, children, today's scientific thought about water. So, water is very important for all the organisms. Okay, the whole world runs behind the water. So, water helps us to regulate our body temperature. It protects the organs and the tissues. It helps in digestion. So, by it prevents constipation. It even lubricates the joints so that you can move your joints properly. You can fold and uh, turn your heads properly. It moistens the tissues in the eyes, nose, and mouth also. It is an oxygen carrier. So it dissolves minerals and other nutrients to make them accessible to the body. So water is very important for all the organism. So better drink water in empty stomach after your bed, and at least 3 liters of water should be consumed daily. Now let's move into our topic. The topic name is crop protection and management, and we have discussed half the lesson previously. Now we discuss about the rest of the topics in detail. Now let us have a quick recap on the topics whichever we have discussed in the earlier session. We have discussed about definition of a crop and agriculture practices, preparation of the soil, plowing and its type, and the implements whichever is involved in this method. And next comes the leveling of the soil. After leveling of the soil, the practice which should be followed is sowing the seed with the seed selection. Later on, to for the better crop yield, the farmer has to add fertilizers to the soil. All these things we have covered in the top session 1. The second session we have discussed about irrigation and its type. Under the irrigation systems, we have seen about traditional method and the modern method, and how these modern methods are much useful than the traditional method. We have also seen the advantages and disadvantages of both these methods. In this lesson, we are going to now learn about weeding and crop production. Under weeding, we are going to see what is weeding, what are the methods to overcome this weeding, and what are the types of weedings also we are going to see. Then later on, we focus on our crop production processes. How the crop production can be improved and how it can be stored. All these things we are going to have a detailed study in this session. So, before going into a detailed study about this concept, first let us learn the definitions of the terms which you are going to use in this concept. The first thing is weeds. Weeds are nothing but the plants, undesirable plants which is grown in the field are called weeds, along with the crops which the farmer is cultivating. So unwanted plants growing with the plants cultivated, it's called weeds. Next, weeding. What is weeding? It is actually the process. The removing of weeds from the crop is called a weeding. Okay, the removing the weeds which a crop grower has to do repeatedly after planting and before harvesting the crop. So it is a process of removing the unwanted weeds from the crop. It's called weeding. In addition to this definitions, there is also the definition of cultivation. What is cultivation? And soil tilth and hilling up. All these definitions were also given. Cultivation is nothing but the process of loosening or breaking up the soil to grow crops. And soil tilth is the soil tilth deals with the texture of the soil, and healing up is nothing but bringing the soil towards the base of the plant to cover the fertilizer and to control weed. So the weed cannot take away the nutrient from the soil. So these are the process in which deal with weeding. Again, in this picture, you have seen what is weed. Weeds are unwanted or undesirable plants that compete with the crop for water, soil nutrient, light, and space, and thus reduce the crop yield. Weeds account for 33% of loss in agriculture alone. So, weeds are unwanted plants. Why it has to be removed? Because they take away the nutrients which the crop needed. So for example, if a farmer is growing a paddy, okay, if there is unwanted plants which is grown in the paddy field, what will happen? Even these unwanted plants which are called to be weed, they also take away the nutrients which has been supplied for the paddy field. So the growth of the paddy is automatically comes down. The yield also, there will be a question mark for the yield. So these weeds have to be removed and cleared in a proper time interval, so that the paddy field can have a proper nutrition and there will be a proper growth in the plant. So now learn how these crops can be protected from the weeds. So the removal of weeds is called weeding. Weeding is actually the process of removing weeds from the crop. So how can it be removed? It can be removed manually or even by chemically. Manually by using instruments, like the farmers may use kurpi kind of an instrument to cut away the weeds, or else they may use the chemicals, they spray it on the field. Such kind of chemicals you can call with a special name weedicides. Weedicides are the chemical which is used to control the production of weeds. Okay, and the farmer, while the farmer is indulged in such practices, as the weedicides are chemicals, they are much harmful for the farmers when they are using. So the farmer should cover their nose and mouth while spraying weedicides. Here in this picture you can see it is a process of weeding is happening there. The farmers are taking out the weeds manually, that is hand weeding. So they are using an instrument like kurpi and they are cutting away the weeds, the unwanted plants which is grown in between of these crops. So this is called manual process. Now in this picture you can see the various instruments which has been used for the process of weeding. You can see the different size and shape of the pictures and the instruments which are used for a process of weeding. So by using these instruments, it is easy for the farmer to take away the weeds from the crop field so that the crop can grow with sufficient nutrient. In the previous picture, we have seen about a manual weeding and the instrument whichever is needed for the manual weeding. But manual weeding has some disadvantages. It is time consuming and may even lead to the accidental removal of a desired crops. For example, if the farmer is growing a paddy crop and there is a weed in between the two paddy crop, instead of a weed, if the farmer is going to cut away the paddy crop, it is a loss for the farmer. So it may happen. And the implements whichever is used in the manual weeding need regular maintenance to prevent rusting, or else sometimes it may create accidental injury to the farmer also. These are the various disadvantages of manual weeding. So for that alternative, there comes a spraying weedicides. Weedicides are nothing but the chemical which is used to be sprayed on the crop. You can see here in the picture there is a man carrying a spraying machine. He's been spraying a weedicide on the crop. Okay, so what it is a chemical. When it is sprayed on the crop, it controls the growth of the weeds in between. So it is focused on the weeds only. The spray this weedicide mainly focus on the weeds. So it will not allow the weeds to grow proper. So that's how this is more easy for a farmer instead, because manual weeding is a time consuming. By spraying this, he can finish the crop field in a with less time. So in the previous picture we have seen about weed. Weeds are nothing but undesirable crops which is grown in between the cultivated crops. To overcome the weed, we have to apply weedicides, chemicals which is being used on spraying. Apart from the crops, there are many other agents which will destroy the growth of the crops which is grown by a farmer. It may be a insect or maybe even some small animals like rats. So all these things, how can it be get controlled? If it is a plant, they are going to apply weedicides or manual weeding can be applied. If the crop field is going to destroyed by any insects or by any animals, now how the farmer is going to face this problem? So that is a solution for that also. To overcome this problem, that is another chemical, it's called pesticides. These so to overcome these things, the farmer is going to apply pesticides. So before pesticides, we let us learn what is pest. Pest is any organism that damages crops or injures or irritates the livestock of man or reduce the fertility of the sand. Okay, the pest is actually derived from the Latin word pestis, which is nothing but plague. Side means to kill. So you are going to kill an insect or an organism which is going to be a hurdle for the crop. So that is all about pesticide. As said earlier, the pest can be of different types. It may be an insect, it may be a small plant, it may be a fungus, or maybe a small animal. So there are different types of pests are there. To overcome all this, there are different types of pesticides available. So to kill insects, small insects, they use insecticides. To kill weeds, they may use herbicides. To kill fungus in the plant, they may use fungicides. And to get rid of the small mouses and rats, they may use rodenticides. So these are the different types of pesticides which you are going to learn here. Okay. As said earlier, the pest can be of different types. It may be an insect, it may be a small plant, it may be a fungus, or maybe a small animal. So there are different types of pests are there. To overcome all this, there are different types of pesticides available. So to kill insects, small insects, they use insecticides. To kill weeds, they may use herbicides. To kill fungus in the plant, they may use fungicides. And to get rid of the small mouses and rats, they may use rodenticides. So these are the different types of pesticides which you are going to learn here. Okay. So now let us discuss about the first type of a pesticide. It is insecticide. Children, you can see the various pictures, right? There are three pictures. I have given three pictures. You can see three different types of insects which is there in the leaf. And recently there is a big news in media about locust attack. So from Pakistan and other countries, there are a swamp of locusts which is invaded the crop field of North Indian states. Okay, you all aware of that news, I believe. And so government has taken many steps to overcome the situations. Here even this picture you can see, that is in a village how they used drones to get rid of this locust. Okay, the state of agriculture department is using a tailor-made drones given by the union ministry to clear locust in the state. So the government has been using innovative technologies to get rid of this locust attack. But in due course, the farmers are also have faced a large loss because of this locust attack in India. So in this picture, you can see how the locust attacked India, and you can even see the farmers how they are struggling to get away from the locust. So they come in as a swamp, okay, and it created a huge loss for the farmers because in within a small time, the locust has destroyed the crop field which they hardly worked for about 6 months. So this is a very big loss for the farmers. So now let us see about the herbicides. Herbicides are the chemicals that are sprayed on a garden or a crop field to kill the weeds, that is undesirable plants which is grown in between. Okay, and they have several advantages and disadvantages which we have discussed earlier also. Now let us see about fungicide. Fungus is a kind of a disease which affects all the parts of the plant, maybe leaf, fruit, sometimes stem, and even buds are also gets affected by this. Okay, when the plants gets affected by a fungus, you can see brown spots on all over the parts where it gets affected. Maybe sometimes brown, yellow, red, and orange colors are also sometimes. Okay, so it causes a damage to the plants. Sometimes the plant cannot grow properly also. Now let us see about fungicide. Fungus is a kind of a disease which affects all the parts of the plant, maybe leaf, fruit, sometimes stem, and even buds are also gets affected by this. Okay, when the plants gets affected by a fungus, you can see brown spots on all over the parts where it gets affected. Maybe sometimes brown, yellow, red, and orange colors are also sometimes. Okay, so it causes a damage to the plants. Sometimes the plant cannot grow properly also. So in this picture you can see the how the plants are getting affected by the fungus. You can see the leaves and fruits are also given there. How the fungus got damaged the fruits and leaves. Can you identify the blacks, yellow, or even reddish kind of a spots? Can you see that picture? There is a big drawback in using a pesticides because on using a pesticide it affects the biodiversity in the soil because soil has small organism in them like small microbes and earthworms. If a farmer is going to add a pesticide to it to kill some insect or to kill a fungus on it, it may even affect the small microbes which is there in the soil, so which in turn affects the growth of the plant, and even sometimes it leaves a residue, chemical residue in the soil which reduce the soil fertility. And due to this there is a biomagnification, biological magnification you can see in the food chain. Biological magnification is a term which is used to relate with the toxic level of the food chain. So how to remove the pest by using a pesticide without losing the soil fertility? That is a big concern for the farmers. So for this there is an answer called biopesticides. Bio means nothing but the word gives you living. Pesticide is nothing but a killing substances. So now bio from a living organism, from a natural thing, if you are going to prepare some pesticides like using a baking soda or kind of sometimes a small neem leaves or plants can also be used as a biopesticides. So biopesticides are substances from a natural sources that are used to destroy or control organism which is said to be pest in the crop. So how to remove the pests by using a pesticide without losing the soil fertility. That is a big concern for the farmers. So for this, there is an answer called biopesticides. Bio means nothing but the word gives you living. Pesticide is nothing but a killing substances. So now bio from a living organism, from a natural thing, if you are going to prepare some pesticides like using a baking soda or kind of sometimes a small neem leaves or plants can also be used as a biopesticides. So biopesticides are substances from a natural sources that are used to destroy or control organism which is said to be pest in the crop. So earlier we have seen what is biopesticides, and now let's see what are the useful things about biopesticides. Biopesticides are less toxic in nature. Okay, and they leave no residue or sometimes a little residue compared to the chemical pesticides, and they are inexpensive. It can be prepared even by a farmer at home at their home itself, and they are economical, eco-friendly, and they have some social benefits also. So as I told you, the biopesticides can be even prepared by a farmer at home. Here there is a plant, neem plant, which is available in all India and easily seen in all over a village area. So this plant can be used as a biopesticide, and each and every part of the neem plant can be used. You can see that the bark, seed, oil, flower and leaf, each part of a neem plant has some medicinal value. Okay, even the pesticides can be prepared. It can be used as a fertilizer, it can be used as an insecticide, it is anti-cancer, and it actually increases the fertility of the soil. So instead of going for a chemical pesticides, the farmer can spend a little time and prepare a pesticides like this from a easily available material from home. They can face up from they can able to improve the crop yield instead of spending money on pesticides and fertilizers.